When you understand the power of detachment, you begin to realize that sometimes stepping back is the strongest move you can make. It's not about playing games or being cold for the sake of it. It's about creating emotional space that allows both of you to breathe, reflect, and truly understand what you mean to each other. When you pull back, you're not just removing yourself physically or emotionally, you're giving him room to see you differently, to appreciate you more deeply than when you were constantly available. And this space changes the dynamic entirely. People often take for granted what's always within reach. When you're always there, it's easy to forget your value because the presence becomes background noise. But when you step away with intention, your absence highlights your worth. It sends a silent message. I am not here for your convenience. I am someone who deserves respect, attention, and genuine effort. This shift forces him to reconsider how much you truly mean to him. Detachment isn't about being indifferent or uncaring. It's about protecting your energy and holding your standards high. When you detach with purpose, you stop chasing approval or validation. You stop bending over backward to keep someone who isn't fully committed. Instead, you position yourself as a person who knows their value and isn't afraid to walk away if it's not recognized. This clarity often jolts the other person into realizing what they risk losing. It's important to recognize that detachment also means focusing on yourself. When you stop over-investing emotionally in him, you begin to redirect your energy toward your growth, your passions, and your happiness. This transformation is magnetic. When you embody confidence and fulfillment from within, you become someone who naturally commands respect and attention. That energy, calm, self-assured, and independent, is what he will start to miss intensely. The beauty of this strategy is that it doesn't rely on words or explanations. It's a silent power move. Your actions, or in this case, your intentional non-actions, speak louder than anything you could say. You're no longer reacting or trying to fix the relationship. You're creating space for genuine connection or for him to realize his mistakes. This is a demonstration of emotional strength, a way of saying, I'm here, but I'm not desperate. I value myself too much to settle for anything less than respect and love. So embracing the power of detachment is the first step to making him miss you like hell. It's about creating that distance with dignity and purpose, showing that your presence is a gift, not a given. When you do this, you shift the balance. And suddenly, what was once overlooked becomes something he can't stop thinking about. This is the moment where your value becomes undeniable. When you stop rushing to respond or constantly being available, you start to create a powerful shift in the way he perceives you. Think about it. In the age of instant messaging and endless notifications, everyone is used to immediate replies. When you break this pattern and take your time, you signal that your time and attention are valuable. This subtle change challenges the norm and forces him to pay closer attention. It makes him realize that you're not just someone who's always there, waiting for his next message or call. Instead, you are someone with your own life, your own priorities, and your own boundaries. The idea here is not to play games or manipulate, but to reclaim your power and show that you're not dependent on his constant approval or validation. When you don't respond immediately, you're communicating that you're in control of your emotions and your time. You're teaching him without saying a word that you have self-respect and that your world doesn't revolve solely around him. This kind of energy is magnetic because it's rare and commanding. It's the kind of presence that makes someone stop and think, wait, why isn't she responding right away? What's going on? By not rushing, you also create anticipation. Humans are wired to crave connection, but when something is suddenly less accessible, it becomes more desirable. That pause, that little moment of waiting, forces his mind to wander toward you. It makes him wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and why you're not instantly available. That uncertainty fuels his curiosity and stokes the fire of missing you. Suddenly, you're not just a person on the other side of a screen. You're a presence that lingers in his thoughts, sparking questions and longing. Moreover, taking your time to respond gives you the opportunity to reflect on what you want to say rather than reacting out of impulse or emotion. This clarity in communication elevates the quality of your interactions. Instead of anxious or needy messages, you send calm, confident, and meaningful words that leave an impact. When you communicate with intention and confidence, you shift the dynamic. He begins to respect your voice and your presence because you're no longer just a source of constant attention, but a person who knows their worth and expresses themselves with purpose. In the process, you also regain control over your emotional well-being. Waiting before responding helps you detach from the immediate urge to seek approval or fear of losing connection. It empowers you to respond from a place of strength, not desperation. This emotional control is vital because it not only protects you from unnecessary pain, but also makes you more attractive in his eyes. There's a deep respect that comes with seeing someone who values themselves enough to set limits, who is not easily swayed or emotionally reactive. In essence, not rushing your responses is about reclaiming your time, your emotions, and your power. It's about creating a magnetic energy that draws him in, not because you're chasing him, but because you become someone who commands respect and attention by simply valuing yourself first. When you do this, he won't just miss your presence. He'll start to miss the unique energy and confidence you bring to the relationship. This calm, measured approach is what makes the difference, and ultimately makes him start missing you in a way he never expected. There's a unique power in embracing silence, especially in relationships where emotions often run high and words can be weaponized or misunderstood. When you consciously choose silence, you create a space that speaks louder than any argument, text, or phone call ever could. This cold strategy isn't about being cold-hearted or uncaring. It's about showing strength through restraint. It's about letting your silence become a mirror that reflects his own actions back to him. When you stop filling every moment with words, explanations, or apologies, you allow the natural rhythm of the relationship to reset. Silence forces him to face the reality of what's happening without distractions. It pulls away the safety net of constant communication, and in that vacuum, he starts to confront the absence of your presence. Not just physically, but emotionally. This absence makes him uncomfortable because it's a gap he can't immediately fill or control. It's a powerful reminder that you are not someone to take for granted. In that quiet space, his mind begins to wander. He starts replaying memories, conversations, moments of connection, both the good and the unresolved. Silence amplifies these memories because they have no competing noise. It's like turning up the volume on everything you once shared. This process naturally leads to him missing you more deeply. It's no longer about just missing your voice or your texts. It's about missing the energy, the presence, and the emotional connection that only you can provide. Moreover, silence creates a sense of mystery. When you stop explaining yourself, he's left to wonder about your thoughts, your feelings, your next move. This mystery adds an irresistible allure. People are drawn to what they don't fully understand because it triggers curiosity and engagement. He's compelled to seek answers, to come closer, to try to bridge the gap you've created with your silence. That gap isn't a wall, but a space of anticipation. And anticipation is a powerful emotion that heightens desire and longing. By choosing silence, you also protect yourself from unnecessary conflict and emotional exhaustion. Instead of reacting impulsively to every slight or misunderstanding, you hold your ground calmly and confidently. This self-control demonstrates emotional maturity and inner strength. It shows that you are not defined by others' actions or drama, but by your own peace and dignity. This kind of calmness in the face of chaos is magnetic because it contrasts sharply with the usual turbulence in many relationships. Importantly, this silence is not about punishment, but about self-respect. It's a way to prioritize your well-being, to set boundaries, and to refuse to be dragged into unhealthy patterns. When he realizes that your silence is not about ignoring him, but about valuing yourself enough to step back, it forces a shift in the relationship dynamic. He begins to see you as someone who cannot be easily swayed or controlled, someone who holds their own power. Ultimately, this cold strategy of silence makes him miss you because it's a reflection of your strength and self-worth. It's a powerful reminder that your presence is not something to be taken lightly or casually. When you embody this energy, you stop chasing and start attracting. And that is when he truly starts to lose his mind over you. No matter how much you go into, mastery becomes your greatest statement. One of the most underestimated but incredibly effective parts of this cold strategy is learning to stop reacting emotionally. When someone you care about tries to provoke you, push your buttons, or test your boundaries, it's natural to want to respond, to defend yourself, explain, or even argue. But here's the truth. Emotional reactions feed the fire. They keep you tied to the situation, to the drama, and to the chaos. They give him exactly what he's looking for: your energy, your attention, your vulnerability. When you choose not to react, when you remain calm and composed, you're taking back control. You're shifting the power dynamic. Instead of being caught up in his emotional games, you're rising above them. This level of emotional control signals that you're not easily shaken, not easily manipulated, and not someone to be toyed with. It sends a message louder than any words ever could, that you respect yourself enough to stay grounded no matter what. This lack of reaction also creates confusion on his side. When he expects a reaction and gets none, it makes him question his own behavior. It disrupts the pattern he's used to. He starts to wonder why you're no longer responding like before. This space, this pause, causes him to reflect on what he's done and how he's acted. It creates distance that forces him to look inward rather than relying on your reactions to justify or confirm his actions. By not reacting emotionally, you protect your peace and keep your mind clear. It's a way of refusing to give away your power through impulsive words or actions. This calmness is magnetic because it shows maturity and strength. People naturally respect those who can remain steady in the face of emotional storms. You become a force that is difficult to ignore, not because you demand attention, but because your presence is steady and unshakable. When you stop reacting, you also allow space for healing, not just for yourself, but for the relationship. Sometimes stepping back emotionally gives both of you the opportunity to reset, to breathe, and to reconsider what truly matters. It creates a pause where clarity can emerge, where the noise fades, and where real understanding can begin. This cold strategy isn't about being indifferent or uncaring. It's about choosing your battles wisely, conserving your energy, and protecting your emotional well-being. It's about showing that your value doesn't depend on how someone else treats you or how often you respond to their actions. In mastering this, you reclaim your emotional freedom. You step into a space where you control your feelings, your responses, and ultimately your life. And that is when he truly begins to miss you. Not just your presence, but the peace and strength you embody. Your silence and calm become your greatest strength. Another crucial part of this cold strategy is mastering the art of selective communication. When you begin to limit your interactions, you create a powerful shift. Think about it. When someone is used to constant contact, texts, calls, messages, it builds an expectation. They come to rely on your availability, your responsiveness. But when you start to withdraw that constant flow, when you respond less frequently or keep your answers short and purposeful, you send a clear yet silent message. You are no longer at their beck and call. Selective communication isn't about being rude or dismissive. It's about valuing your time and energy. It's about setting boundaries that protect your peace. When you carefully choose when and how to respond, you demonstrate self-respect. You show that your attention is something precious, not to be wasted on drama or manipulation. This shift forces him to realize that he can't take you for granted anymore. Suddenly, the easy access he once had disappears, and with it, his sense of control. This strategy works because it creates a subtle tension. The unpredictability of your communication makes him more attentive. He begins to wonder why you are less available, why you don't chase after him like before. This mystery pulls him in because human nature is wired to seek what feels scarce or hard to get. Your silence or limited responses make you more valuable, more intriguing, and that compels him to pursue you. In addition, selective communication gives you the power to steer the interaction on your terms. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally, you get to decide when, how, and if you engage. This mindset transforms you from someone who is constantly trying to please or explain into someone who commands respect and sets the rhythm of the relationship. You take control of the narrative, and that shift is empowering beyond words. Another important aspect is that by controlling communication, you protect yourself from unnecessary hurt and confusion. When you communicate selectively, you avoid getting dragged into arguments or emotional roller coasters that only drain you. You create space for clarity, for calm, and for personal growth. It's in this space that you heal, reflect, and rebuild your strength. Over time, this cold, deliberate approach to communication reshapes the dynamics between you two. It sends a message louder than any confrontation could. You are no longer chasing. You are no longer available on demand, and you are focused on your own life and happiness. That realization is the moment he starts missing you because he senses that you are moving on, that you are not dependent on his validation or attention. The power of selective communication lies in its simplicity and consistency. It's a strategy that requires discipline and emotional intelligence, but it rewards you with peace and renewed respect from him. It's a way of showing that you have standards, that you honor yourself, and that you are worth pursuing on your terms. This is how you shift the balance of power, quietly, confidently, and effectively. And in doing so, you set the stage for him to truly miss you like hell. Another powerful element of this cold strategy is embracing the art of emotional detachment. When you stop letting your feelings dictate your actions and responses, you gain control over the entire situation. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or become cold-hearted. It means you refuse to be consumed or controlled by your emotions, especially when they threaten your peace and self-worth. Think about how often we get caught in cycles of reacting impulsively, texting back immediately when we feel hurt or anxious, making excuses for someone who treats us poorly, or trying to explain ourselves endlessly to be understood. These reactions only fuel the fire and give the other person power over your state of mind. But when you practice emotional detachment, you pause before reacting. You observe your feelings without letting them control your behavior. This space between feeling and action is where real power lies. It's where you decide not to respond to every trigger, not to chase after every thought or doubt that crosses your mind. Instead, you focus on maintaining your inner calm, your dignity, and your sense of self. This calmness is magnetic because it shows that you are not desperate, not dependent, and not easily shaken. When he sees that you are not emotionally reactive, that your world doesn't revolve around his actions or approval, it disrupts his expectations. He starts to notice the shift in your energy, the way you carry yourself with quiet confidence rather than emotional chaos. This shift makes him question what changed, why you are no longer an open book for him to read or manipulate. Emotional detachment also protects you from being drawn into unnecessary drama. When you keep your emotions in check, you avoid getting tangled in arguments, guilt trips, or manipulation tactics. You create a boundary that preserves your mental and emotional well-being. This boundary sends a message that you won't tolerate disrespect or instability. By embodying this emotional detachment, you show that you value yourself enough to rise above petty games and emotional turbulence. You demonstrate that your peace is non-negotiable. This strength challenges him to reassess his own behavior and feelings because the person he once took for granted is no longer available for emotional exploitation. The beauty of emotional detachment is that it empowers you to live your life on your terms. You stop waiting for validation, approval, or love from him or anyone else. Instead, you become the source of your own happiness and fulfillment. This independence makes you irresistible because it reflects true self-mastery. When you master emotional detachment, you transform from someone who chases to someone who is pursued. You create an aura of mystery and strength that compels him to miss you deeply because he senses that you are no longer vulnerable to his control. This emotional shift is one of the most effective ways to make him realize your value and the loss he faces without you. Your emotional freedom is your greatest weapon, and when wielded with grace and consistency, it makes him miss you like never before. Another critical aspect of this cold strategy is mastering the power of silence. Silence is often underestimated, yet it holds immense influence in how others perceive us, especially in relationships where emotions run deep. When you choose silence instead of filling every gap with words or reactions, you reclaim control and create space for reflection, for both yourself and him. Think about how often we feel pressure to explain ourselves, justify our feelings, or respond immediately to messages or situations. That urgency to speak comes from a place of fear. Fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or forgotten. But when you learn to embrace silence, you break free from that fear. You show that you don't need to prove your worth through constant communication. Your silence speaks volumes without saying a word. Silence can be a powerful form of resistance. It says, I am not available to be manipulated. I will not chase or beg for your attention. Instead of reacting to every little thing, you create a calm, composed presence that demands respect. This quiet confidence makes him start wondering why you aren't responding the way you used to, why you're not filling every moment with noise. That uncertainty will stir his mind more than any argument or chase could. Moreover, silence protects your energy. When you stop engaging in unnecessary debates or emotional back and forths, you conserve your strength and preserve your peace. This space you create allows you to focus on your growth and happiness instead of being caught in cycles of emotional turmoil. It's in this calm, centered state that your true power shines through. There's also a mysterious allure in silence. When you are not constantly available, you become unpredictable and intriguing. People are naturally drawn to what they can't fully grasp or control. Your silence becomes a signal that you are not desperate or needy. You have your own life, your own priorities. This shift in energy makes him start to miss the connection you once had, the warmth and attention he no longer receives. Silence also invites introspection. It forces him to look inward and question his actions, his feelings, and what he truly wants. Without your immediate reactions or explanations, he has to fill the void with his own thoughts and emotions. This often leads to realization and regret, especially when he recognizes what he's lost. Mastering silence means embracing the discomfort of uncertainty. It means trusting yourself enough to know that your value isn't determined by how much you speak or chase. Instead, it lies in your ability to stand firm, quiet, and self-assured. This level of control flips the dynamic completely now. He is the one wondering and waiting, while you remain steady and grounded. The cold strategy of silence is not about being rude or distant without cause. It's about setting boundaries, valuing yourself, and creating space for true respect and admiration to grow. When used consistently, this silence will make him miss you like hell because it shows that you are no longer there to fill his every need or soothe his every insecurity. You have become someone who commands respect through your quiet strength. In the end, silence is your ally, your shield, and your secret weapon. And when wielded with intention, it changes everything. Another essential part of this cold strategy is learning to prioritize yourself unapologetically. So often, we get caught up in trying to please others, especially those we care about deeply. We bend over backward, adjust our schedules, and sacrifice our needs to keep the peace or gain approval. But when you decide to put yourself first, something powerful happens. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. Prioritizing yourself means saying no without guilt. It means protecting your emotional space and understanding that your happiness is not negotiable. When you stop dropping everything to respond instantly or cater to his demands, you send a clear message that your life doesn't revolve around him. You are someone with your own goals, passions, and boundaries, and you won't compromise those for anyone who doesn't respect them. This shift is often unsettling for the other person. When you stop being so readily available, when you no longer let him dictate your mood or actions, he begins to realize what he's missing. Your attention, once given freely, is now something he has to earn. This change forces him to step up or step back. It makes him value your presence more because it's no longer guaranteed. Prioritizing yourself also means embracing your own growth. It means investing time in the things that light you up, whether that's your career, hobbies, friendships, or personal development. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally become more attractive. Your confidence grows, your energy shifts, and that magnetic force pulls him in. It's not about playing games. It's about living fully and authentically, independent of anyone else's approval. This approach teaches a critical lesson. Your worth isn't tied to his validation or attention. When you truly believe that, your behavior changes. You don't chase, you don't beg, and you don't settle for less than you deserve. Instead, you hold space for the right energy to come to you, someone who respects your boundaries and values your self-love. Remember, prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. It's the foundation of healthy relationships and genuine connection. When you embody this energy, you break free from dependency and create an environment where respect and admiration thrive naturally. By putting yourself first, you make him realize that he has lost something precious. You become the prize he wants to chase, because you are no longer available to be taken for granted. And that, more than anything else, will make him miss you like hell. This is your power. Own it. Another crucial part of this cold strategy is mastering the art of silent confidence. There's a unique power in not reacting, in maintaining your calm and composure no matter what unfolds around you. When you stop giving energy to drama or emotional chaos, you create a space where your presence alone speaks volumes. This silent confidence shows him that you are in control of yourself and your emotions, and that you're not someone to be easily shaken or manipulated. Think about it. When someone is calm and collected, it naturally commands respect. It's not about arrogance or coldness. It's about self-mastery. When he sees you walking through life with that quiet assurance, he begins to question how he ever thought he could take you for granted. Your silence becomes louder than any words could ever be, and that creates an intense curiosity and longing. He starts to wonder what you're thinking, why you're no longer reacting, and what he's lost by pushing you away. This kind of confidence doesn't come from trying to prove anything to anyone. It comes from a deep knowing of your own worth and a refusal to engage in anything less than respectful, meaningful interaction. When you embody this energy, you don't need to explain yourself or defend your boundaries repeatedly. Your actions and demeanor say it all. You are someone who values herself enough not to waste time or emotions on drama or gain. The beauty of silent confidence is that it shifts the power dynamic without aggression. You're not fighting for attention. You're simply existing in your truth. And that truth is magnetic. It pulls him in because he senses that you are no longer dependent on his approval to feel whole or happy. This independence challenges him to see you differently, and that makes him miss you more deeply than before. When you maintain your silent confidence, you also protect your peace. You don't allow yourself to be dragged into conflicts or emotional roller coasters. Instead, you focus on your growth, your goals, and your happiness. This detachment, combined with your unwavering self-respect, creates a magnetic pull that's impossible to ignore. In the end, silent confidence is a form of love for yourself that others cannot help but notice and respect. It's one of the most powerful ways to make him realize your true value, and that absence of reactive energy will make him miss you like hell. Stay calm, stay strong, and let your silence do the talking. The final piece of this cold strategy is embracing the power of unpredictability. When you become predictable, you lose your edge. People start taking you for granted because they feel like they know exactly how you will react, what you will say, and when you will be available. But when you introduce a level of unpredictability, not in a chaotic way, but in a way that shows you have your own rhythm, your own priorities, he begins to realize that you are not someone to be easily figured out or controlled. Unpredictability creates intrigue, it sparks curiosity. When you don't always respond immediately, when you don't always say what he expects, and when your actions don't follow a set script, it disrupts the usual pattern. And people hate losing control or certainty, especially when it comes to relationships. He starts to wonder, where is she? What's she doing? Why isn't she reaching out like before? That uncertainty makes him miss you because the space you create invites reflection and longing. This unpredictability isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about valuing your own time and energy enough to live on your terms. It means showing up when it feels right for you, not because you feel obligated or pressured. It means sometimes saying no, sometimes focusing on yourself, and sometimes just being delightfully unavailable. When he sees that you're living your life fully and independently, it challenges his assumptions and awakens a desire to be a part of that vibrant, autonomous energy. You might think unpredictability is risky, but it's actually a form of strength. It signals that you are not desperate for attention or approval. You are someone who knows her worth, someone who refuses to be boxed in by expectations or routines that don't serve her. And when you embody this, the dynamic changes completely. The chase begins, but not because you're forcing it, because you've created a magnetic force by simply being yourself, fully alive and unapologetically free. He will start to miss the moments when you were there, but more importantly, he'll start to crave the moments when you choose to show up. This strategy flips the script. It shifts the power back to you, giving you control over your emotional landscape and the relationship dynamic. It makes him realize that losing you would mean losing something rare and precious, something he can't replicate or replace. Ultimately, unpredictability isn't about confusing him. It's about protecting your peace, valuing your time, and living authentically. When you do this, you don't just make him miss you like hell. You remind yourself of your own strength and the freedom that comes from living life on your own terms. Let your life be your loudest message.